The record button. Okay, so hello everyone. It is 3 minutes after the official fixed time, so we are starting our next webinar, How to Rule Reality in Conflict. Today, 17th of August, 2022, Wednesday, 9 p.m. London time, 4 p.m. US time, and 23 o'clock Bulgarian time. And I don't know if you are wondering, but I'm doing usually, if possible, my monthly webinars on the 17th of August, because this 17th is a very important date for me. This was the date when I was married for my wife. In the moment in my webinar, only my wife is supporting me. She's attending this webinar. So I thank her very much for her support. But I know that a lot of you are going to listen to this webinar by the recordings that are going to be sent by the emails, and also are going to listen and to watch it through YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So we are starting with how to rule reality in conflict. I'm Alexander Ermenkov. I'm a ruling reality coach because I decided to actually start working and interacting with reality. And what is interesting for me is not only our dreams, our concepts, our ideas, our religions, our worldviews, but actually how reality really works. And that's why I positioned myself as a ruling reality coach. And from the perspective of a ruling reality coach, I'm going to express with you why there is conflict in reality. So let's start with conflict in a glimpse. Why conflict exists, where is the genesis of the conflict, and we are going to speak during this webinar about the origin of conflict, our positionings as human beings that are created and are experienced this reality in which in its origin there is conflict, so we are border zone creatures. And I'm going to also share with you the two normal tendencies of conflict resolutions that are in the moment dominant in the world we live in. So I'm going to actually express and position love as the transmutating power used in conflict. For me, love is very important, and I know for more of the people, they understand that love is important. It's a tool, it's a feeling, it's an energy, it is a state, it is a vibration, it is everything. But we need to understand, when we put love against conflict, why it is so important to really go forward and understand what is now the bonding between love and conflict. And we are going to deep dive now in the origin of conflict. So everything starts with creation. Why we are sure that there is a creation? Because we exist in this reality. We see that there is a flow. We see that everything is moving forward. So when we start thinking backwards, we understand that there should have been a beginning. So if in the beginning there was a creation, logically, the conflict starts to exist because there should be also an end. If there is a beginning, there is an end. If there is a creation, there is a destruction. So in reality, we see this creation and destruction cycles appearing all the time. The most easy way is to see it in the seasons. When we have the summer, everything is flourishing. We see the nature starting to revive again. Then through the autumn and the winter, we see little by little the decay, and everything is going back into sleep. And these cycles are moving through the natural world every year. So we see it also through nature, how many things are created, then are distracted, and it is happening everywhere in the reality. So the second thing that is very important regarding creation of the reality is that in order life to be present, to be appreciated, to be understood, that has to be possible also. What is the problem here. We, the human beings, we want eternal life. We want just to experience only one part of reality. We want to experience only life, but there are two parts of reality. So one part is that there is life, but the other part is that death is always possible. So what is happening after this in reality, if there should be a creation, and if there is a creator that is allowing destruction also to exist, because reality construct is done in such a way that in the duality of the construct, there should be always the balance between the two opposites. So the creator that is allowing destruction also long-term needs to provide impossible solution in order life to be sustained and to exist long-term. So according to me, with creation, immediately with the beginning and with the creation, a destruction solution is presented for the reality through the figure and the label of the Savior. There are a lot of religions in which the figure of a Savior exists, in the Egypt religions, in the Greek religions, in the Christian religion, in the Islam religion, and everywhere with different names and different figures. But what is important here is to understand why in reality there should be such a savior that needs to actually destroy these cycles from where the conflict and the origin of conflict is existing. So this is a very deep topic. It is very divisive also. It depends from the worldviews of every one of us. But you need now, from the construct of reality and from the perspective of reality, to understand that this loop that is creation, destruction, and the existence of conflict long-term, there is a resolution of it, and you are going to understand why the figure of Savior and the presence of love are like the two sides of the same coin. And that's why with the creation, the transmutation of destruction by death and resurrection, which is the figure of the love, is presented because, as you're going to see, love is actually the transmuting power that is actually long-term obliterating conflict in reality. So we are border zone creatures, and in the four quadrants of reality, quadrant 1, quadrant 4, 3, and 2, we are experiencing conflicts, and I'm going to tell you now why, and it is normal part, but the basic conflict that we all human beings know about is the conflict between good and evil. There are very many opinions of what is good and what is evil, but the most easiest solution, if it's possible actually, with to mix good and evil and just to create something in the middle and then to obliterate the conflict. But life exists because of the border. Life exists because there is created this space, and because it is impossible there to be life and to be experienced if there are no border zones. That is why we are going to see now life exists because of these borders, and we long-term, as a human beings, need to be warriors, but you're going to understand warriors of what. Okay. So the important thing is to learn that there is nothing to defend in reality. And also, we as a warriors need to resist the obliteration of borders and not directly to resist the generators of evil or just to be behind the generators of good. The important thing is to understand that there are borders between everything in reality. So the other thing that is very important, and it is very well seen in quadrant 4 of reality, I'm going to explain it, what is there. Nothing to conquer. So if in quadrant 4 of reality we have nothing to conquer, then the only thing we as warriors, as human beings that are border zone position creatures, we need long-term to put all our energy into authentically being and be present and to express ourselves on a daily basis. And this is just enough. Then it's very important to learn nothing to prove, but actually to be warriors of aligning and to be led to be validated, not to try to prove, not to try to conquer, not to try to defend, not to try to raise ourselves, but actually just to be aligned with the position that we already have. There is nothing to heal, to fix, to solve, but actually we need to know that health, fixing, solving, everything comes from the inside out. There is a flow that needs to be created that is actually long-term, the solving of everything that there is. So again, we need to understand that actually love is the transmuting power that is able to obliterate every border that exists. So as you see in reality, we have the internal external conflict, the conflict between the internal us and the conflict between the external, the conflict between the individual, everything that we are, and the conflict between collective. So just to remind for some of you that don't know, in the quadrant 1 of reality is everything that is within your head, inside of you, the unseen part of you, your awareness, perception, consciousness, subconsciousness, dreams, visualizations, memory of experience, pattern recognition, predictability, projections, intent, attention, focus, identity, desire, passion, urges, will, intent, and the expression of the I, of the being through the body, all these expressions that are able only in the quadrant 2, where is our body, it is individual for every one of us, but also through it, as I told you before, we are feeling these energy vibrations, all the feelings, our body functionality, biochemical, physical, our state, our alignment, even where our coherence, we experience part of everything, faith, love, authenticity, and attitude, also through the body. In the collective part of reality, the internal collective is where our religion, belief, worldview, science, law, order, values, culture, language, knowledge, concepts, and theories are. And I'm going to show you a little bit later how there are conflicts in reality in all the 4 quadrants, and it is normal part of how actually everything is created. So in the external collective, we have the generational wealth, money, assets, nature, universe, cosmos, the reality construct, the physical matter reality, civilization, industrialization, and technology. And the most important part now is to see how everything is working in every quadrant and what is the conflict in reality in every quadrant. In quadrant number 1, our internal self, everything that is inside of us and we don't see, the conflict comes because of how we are created. We have a left and right hemisphere of the brain, and because of it, the left hemisphere, it's about the logic, the right is about the intuition, and they are always in conflict. The left looks more at the content and the right looks more at the context. The left hemisphere is looking into the details of everything, and the right hemisphere always thinks that totality and everything is more important. The left hemisphere wants to go into impact, but the right hemisphere of the brain is always seeking for bigger purpose and meaning. That's why a lot of us as human beings are daily experience the conflict within ourselves, and we are thinking, is it okay? Is it normal there to be a conflict? Yes, it is okay to be in a conflict zone, to be in borders between left and right, content and context, detail and totality, impact, personal against the biggest purpose and meaning, the conflict between the logic and intuition. It is okay in our inner being. We to experience this only if we understand long-term what is the power that is obliterating every conflict. In the quadrant 2 of our reality, the external individual, we can see the conflict between the body automations versus the body rule. It is not so easy to rule our body because all the automations and behaviors that we consciously have been done in the past, and also the body limitations versus the being limitlessness, the body health and vitality versus the universal flow and energy. This is also very important because more of us want only the health and vitality of our body, but we are not an independent structure that is separated from everything else, but we are interconnected with all the universe and everything that exists. So we need to understand that actually our body is only a channeling instrument. It is only our garment. It is only something which is a vehicle for us to move into the reality, but it is not our autonomous part of reality. It is always interconnected with everything. And then the body wants and lusts that I have called them against this body as a vehicle in reality, to understand that we, the being, the I amness, we are actually long-term and consciously able to be in control of everything the body is, and to long-term program this body to do whatever we want. And that's why the best wordings is the embodiment versus the transcendence. A lot of us just want and think that if we transcend this body, if we are able just to move forward into a reality, outside of it, it is going to be very well, but there is always a conflict and the body is always existing. There is also another very interesting thing, which is called that the body is actually the storage of all our history. So when you are moving from one place to another in space, actually with the body, you are carrying your history, you are carrying your automations, you are carrying your limitations from one space to other. So even if you change the space, if tomorrow you decide to live in New York City, you are taking all your luggage, all your baggage, but also your history that is contained in your body. So you are going to experience a lot of conflict in quadrant 2 of reality. But for us, the human beings, especially the quadrant 3, which is the internal collective, everything that we are trying to prove to each other as human beings, all the persuasions, all the so-called brainwashing, I'm trying to brainwash you are trying to brainwash me, and so on. And we as human beings are trying to persuade each other. We are fighting for the truth, because in the quadrant number 3, the internal collective, all of us are just trying to see where is the objective truth. But because of all our subjective experience, we are always in this conflict between the subjective and objective truth, between the common good versus the individual authenticities, between the value benefits versus the desires that are benefiting me, all against me. The shadow suppressions versus unique expression. This is also another conflict. And of course, it is very easy to understand the conflicts in reality in quadrant number 4, where is the external collective. The biggest conflict is civilizations versus nature. Here are all the news that you're hearing about global warming, or how the impact of humanity is against nature, or what is our impact, and so on and so on. There are a lot of agendas, a lot of conflicts that are created there or are existing, but anyhow, or we need to live in synchronicity and to long-term understand what is actually able only to obliterate all these conflicts, or we are constantly going to bother ourselves with why conflicts exist. One solution is with just to not look at them, to avoid them, to try to not see them, to ignore them, and so on. But anyhow, it is something normal in reality, and also long-term, you are going to become someone that is really willing And it's okay to experience conflicts because now you understand what is the reason for conflicts to appear in your life and in reality, and you are going to see what is the long-term solution. Also, another conflict is with beings under order. All the beings that are existing in reality, if they're starting to change their order all the time, depending on the different views and so on. I'm not speaking only about the human beings, but all the beings that are existing in the different parts of reality. Everything in reality needs to be in its place. Us as human beings need to stay in our positioning. Only there we are powerful, because the only power we have is our position in the order and place we are put to be. Also, there is another conflict, creator versus creation. And this is also something long-term that is a conflict that some people are experiencing, and some beings are experiencing more, some beings are not experiencing at all because they're okay and are aligned. So the most important thing is to understand the two tendencies that exist. One of the tendency is to obliterate borders. Some beings are trying to say that if we obliterate all the borders, if we just don't anymore have good or evil, light or darkness, if we don't have any borders, then we are going to experience eternal harmony, eternal peace, and so on. This is one of the tendencies that is very strongly pushed through humanity today. But is it something that is supported from the reality construct, or is it something that is going against how life is created to exist? Because as I already explained to you, life is created to live within the conflicts that exist, but long-term, you are going to see what is the solution. The other part of the tendency is to clarify the distinctions. A lot of people are going very strongly into this direction, just to point their fingers and to say, no, no, this is right, this is wrong, and so on and so on. And they are moving strongly into this direction. But actually, our positioning as a border zone creatures, we are not to take sides, not to prove, not to try just to be on one position, but actually to say that to stay in the border zone, it is important. It is okay to understand that there are borders, but long-term to understand that we are beings that have other very strong power also that is able long-term to transmute these conflicts. So love is the transmutating weapon that is able to long-term obliterate conflict. And yes, I see that Ines is active in the chat. And this is very powerful for me because some of you that know me, they very well, because I have expressed it many times, I'm not against love, but I need to understand the exact reason why we, the human beings, need to work and to be 100% using unconditional life, and what we are using it. Actually, it is our weapon that is transmuting this conflict. So you're going to see now how. So if fate is the substance that is materializing everything that is probable and it is making all to be possible, and if hope makes possible what is not now, then love, and that's why love is the only thing that is lasting, because long-term, this is the power that can transmutate and to change and to transform and to transcend every conflict. So now I have a small, quick question for you. What, in your opinion, is the purpose of life? This is very important, because if we understood till now that we as the human beings need to be guardian of life as it is, we need to sustain life, we need to enjoy life, we need to protect life, we need to cherish it as it is, to live in synchrony and in balance, and not to try to change or to be able to just make some additional adaptations. But long term, the purpose of life, according to me, is of course to experience it, everything as it is, to gather as much awareness about everything that exists, even if we label it good, evil, and so on, black, white. Because if we're just trying to go through life and just to separate and to try to look for and to seek for only for the white part of reality, if we're just trying to pursue happiness, in the sense that for us happiness is only to experience the beautiful and the good things that are able to happen, and by good I mean things that are benefiting for all, but for some people good is things that are benefiting for them. So it is also a little bit questionable how we can define good and evil. But anyhow, the other very important part about the purpose of our life is to consciously impact reality, and it is possible only if we understand the meaning of ruling our reality, and anyhow to leave our legacy here from the point and the way of our consciousness, but also we need to express daily the bonding power of love. Because if conflict is the separating power of our reality, the opposite power that is bonding everything together in all the construct of reality is called the power of love. So I didn't understand very strongly before this bonding part and why it's so important. But now when I put it against the conflict part of reality that is trying to long-term separate, and the love part of reality that is trying long-term to bond, but of course you cannot bond good and evil into one thing, because you are going to destroy and to obliterate everything that is. But actually the power of love is transmuting and long-term transforming everything in our life and experience that looks like bad or evil or something against us into something beautiful for us. And this is also for all of the reality. So my goal for this webinar is to ultimately position ourselves, the human beings, as limitless. Of course, experiencing all these reality limitations, because you cannot obliterate the existence of conflicts. Nobody can do it. We, the human beings, can try as much as possible, but we cannot create from the two parts of our brains one part. We are created already like this. Conflict is put with a purpose in reality, in order with the human beings to understand the power of bonding and the power of love. And also you are going to see now, to express what we want, this is very important. We, the human beings, to understand that expressing is important. Also, the goal for this webinar is more of you to be willing to master reality, because this is existential for us to, and it is helping us to interact efficiently and create lasting impact, but while living more bonded and loving space. It is a little bit of paradox, because in order something to be created, first there should be a separation in the wholeness, in the totality, in order to put something separate to exist. But then long-term love is something that is bonding everything in reality. And now I'm going to tell you which are the 3 obvious musts you are willing to pursue in your reality, and that are going to be helping you long-term to dare to be in any situation, to not have a problem, to stay in a conflict, and to see then an opportunity. Aha, there is a conflict in my reality. Just a wonderful place to express the power of love. So the first thing we need to learn is to stop disconnecting. I know I have done it. You can ask my wife also how many times, When we go into a conflict, I just immediately go into disconnection because I think that this is the normal thing to do. But now, because of the power of love, and when I understand that just in this moment, I actually need to use love and the bonding power. So instead of disconnecting, long term, you're going to see why it is important to stop doing it. Also, to generate what bonds. Alex, I know some of you are going to say, but in a lot of your previous webinars, you told us that we need to generate what we want. This is possible. Every one of us can generate separation. Every one of us can generate more conflict. But long term, because of the reality construct, we are to generate what long-term bonds, because then we are able to obliterate and to work strongly into transmuting everything that appears as a conflict in our reality. And then the hardest part is to trust the process that love never fails. I was wondering very much, because it looks like this is the weakest weapon that we the human beings are having. But actually, if love never fails to do what is its power, and once you understand that the power of love is to bond, then you are going to start enjoying, trusting the process. So stop disconnecting. What is the connection conflict then? Disconnection takes a lot of energy to be sustained, and all of us, if we are reflecting in our personal lives, can really say this, because the reality construct is created in such a way that long-term true love to be bonded and to be transmuted everything into oneness and wholeness and harmony again. Every disconnection takes a lot of energy long-term to be sustained. I have hated in my life, I hope a lot of you have hated. Once you start hating, there is a lot of energy you need in order to sustain. Then comes vengeance, then you put all your energy into how to work more into this separation, how to separate even more. And if you go further into these situations, then you see how much energy is going to be drained out of you. And if you just stay in your positioning of a loving and bonding creature, then you are going to have a lot of energy left for doing much more beautiful things. So the second thing is that love is easy when we let go of the response. Our only thing that we can do is just to express this bonding power of love. And then it's not our responsibility how the other side is going to respond. And if it doesn't respond as we want, this is not part of our reality. Long term, the bonding power of life is going to do its job. So to be separate in connected and aligned universe, you see what a paradox it is. If we go into this path, and if we go into this direction to move and support conflict through hate, vengeance, and all these negative emotions, because you cannot support conflict with positive emotions long term. Though, for example, everyone can know this example. The Catholic Church and all the Christians in the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages, they were willing so strongly to impose God and Christianity upon everyone, that because of the conflict that they were creating and the energy they put, actually they were creating a lot of separation. And once you see a power that is moving forward and pretending whatever, but long-term is not bonding, it is not aligned with what reality is, and this power long-term is not able to do anything. That's why if we live in a connected and aligned universe, then the separation process is very hard thing, and it looks long-term for so much energy in order to be sustained. So that's why use very easy, and you are going to see now, if you go backwards, that love is actually a very easy thing to do it. And now you're going to very well understand what is the meaning of love your enemy. Love the thing that is generating a conflict instead of supporting the disconnection. So the obvious number 2 is generate what bonds. If you are generating reality being, then move forward into alignment with the bonded and interconnected reality. So the first thing is we need to accept all as it is, because if we try to project, if we try to change, if we try to impose, we are moving into creating conflict. Alignment, review, connection. The only thing we need to do is to be aligned as much as possible. And then this revealing of connection and love is going to very easy appear. And this is very strong here, space instead of absorption. Do you imagine that actually when we go into a room with somebody, when we are going into arguing, when we are going into conflict, actually once you give space for the other instead of trying to absorb him in your own reality, actually you think that this is long-term not going to help, but this is how love works. It is impossible love to absorb all of us. And can we imagine a loving creator that is so strongly and passionately loving us that it is actually suffocating us because there is not a space left? Do you know how much power is necessary in order all the time we as human beings to have so much space around us and still to feel and to know that love is just one hand away from us? So the third obvious about love is trust the process, that love never fails. So love appears to be the weakest, yet in the construct of reality, it is the most powerful because it is the bonding and connecting part that is making long-term everything to go into balance. It endures all. If this is so, whatever you think, you have seen 100 years wars, you have seen conflicts that can go from generation to generation. You can tell me about the longest conflict that have ever existed, the conflict between good and evil. If it said that love is able to endure all, it means that long-term the bonding power of love is going to obliterate and to transmute every conflict into impossible to be sustained anymore. So since love bonds, it is in all. So all us and creatures, as creatures, we are border zone creatures, but also we have the duty to bond in this reality. And it is in all of us. And since it's the bonding power, the glue that is making everything to go into the right direction in every part of reality, it doesn't matter if you go in the physical matter, in the mind reality, in abstract reality, in whatever areas of reality you want to go, you'll see this difference between the separation and the bonding and the allness. It is everywhere. So love obliterates, but not the borders, but only the conflict itself. So these are the three obvious that we have spoke about today: to learn to stop disconnecting, to generate what bonds, and to trust the process that love never fails. So I have created, and for all of us, it is going to be really great if a new way exists and reality is subject to influence. And that's why if we are able to actually understand how reality actually works, as I was describing now, how love is put strongly as a power against conflicts, how to interact in all the limitations that we need to accept that they exist in reality, instead of going into delusion and just think that everything is as we imagine it to be. how to actually work and have and make reality shift, how to measure the influence upon reality that we are able to long-term make. So if all of us have such possibility to understand these things, do you think that it is existential for us and that this is something that is awesome? That's why I have created this Ruling Reality Basic program, and you are going to get with it everything as understanding about an experience, of course, how to influence the reality, how to interact in these limitations that already exist, as I was explaining, how with love you are interacting with the bonding power of love against the limitations of the conflicts that anyhow exist in reality. And long term, you are going to experience your own reality shifts. And of course, you are able to measure all the influence that you are making upon the reality. So this is more than 28 videos that I have created on all these topics regarding the construct of reality. There are Q&A calls with me and sharing calls also, and I have created also a ruling reality tracker. So the benefits of this program is that within 30 days, you are going to learn that process is much more important than the effects that all of us experience in reality. When you see something beautiful, when you see something successful, when you see just something happening in reality that you enjoy and adore, you are going to long-term start be more interested in what are the processes behind what you see appearing in reality. And you're going to learn that how is not of your own business, but you as a human being need to do only your part of reality, everything else. And it is much, much more than what we, the human beings, can do. It's not our part. We just need to play our part and to push our buttons. Everything else is not of our business. And we long-term, the people that are going into this program are going to begin ruling and experience how they're ruling their own reality. So I'm the first program, of course, of my program. I have also one client from Canada that finished this program already. She's very strongly now interacting with her own reality. She's called Wendy. And now I'm going to put you a video with the Question Guy podcast's Dr. Kate McNally, who is in the moment going through all the videos of my Ruling Reality Basics program. And he's just asking a lot of questions, why I'm just willing exactly this information to say and so on. And you're going just to see now, experience some of the videos that I'm creating with him about this program. And long-term, I'm willing to validate that this program is something that have a lot of value. Thank you.
Cool. Got it.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? Because now it just sits there on the table. The fact that life has systems and patterns, but I can't do anything with that information. Like, okay, I wake up in the morning, but and then you spend a lot of time in those transitional elements. So I actually made a model of myself, but it's downstairs, because you spend it like there's this pre-awakening stage when you're still asleep, that your body's kind of doing this transition. There's this kind of just at you're awake, your eyes are open, but your brain isn't awake yet. And then there's the fully awake stage. I think that's like day 2. But then again, without, well, what do I do with that information? I'm kind of lost. So anyway, that's just kind of my initial thoughts.
Yes. So you'll see long after week 2 that I started to develop slides for all the information, so it is going to become a little bit better. And I'm trying, because it's a lot of concepts, and I'm trying now to make them more visualized and to go more into the bits of the information. But basically, the idea here is that all of us know that there are a lot of people that are using the mornings to make morning routines, meditations, or whatever they are trying to do. Some people are doing in the evening affirmations or doing some things, conditioning their minds during the evenings. And here in my program, the important thing is why we people are doing the things we are doing, and why the construct of reality is done in such a way that actually we are thinking, what shall we do with this information? The problem with reality is that we don't need to do anything. We just need to accept what it is and just to align to what already exists. For example, if there are cycles, there is a lot of information you can go into and research. Let's say the moon cycles, the star cycles, why some people are trying to align themselves with all these different energies and so on and so on. And then why we have this cycle of day and night. It is so boring, it's so obvious, but it repeats more than 33,000 times in our life. Yeah, so you can see now how I'm going through this different information, and we are just going through this information, discussing it, reflecting on it, and long term, it is creating the right questions, the right answers, and the right search into the people to understand more what is everything that is behind everything that we see. So long term, this program is for those who want the impossible, those who want actual reality shifts, and those who dare to interact with reality. So if you long-term need help with deepening your experience, it is included in the sense that I'm going through all the things that are in your reality and you would like to understand what is exactly happening there. And through this interaction, this is included about the step-by-step guidance. 100% it is not possible because there are no recipes for life, but I'm giving a lot of examples from my life. We are discussing a lot about every specific topic with the people that are in my program. If all this program did was just to help you start shifting your reality, would it be worth it for you? You can answer this question for you. I know the answer for myself personally, and I have seen the answer for the people that are doing the program. And now I have put 3 people in the program with which I'm working from different areas of life, and I'm validating the results that this program is able to do for this. And you need to answer for yourself, what is it worth to you to master all these processes that are behind reality? So this program is $1,000. This is the full price for the program if you join now. Also, I have created some bonuses for all of you that are finishing my Ruling Reality Basics program. You are going to have a $1,000 voucher for another 6-month Elite Mentorship Forum program, which is more like a boot camp where there are actually now a lot of exercises, but there is necessary a lot of commitment from you. And long term, if you want to deep dive into reality, you can go with me into these 6 months. I have done it twice. It helped me a lot to start understanding reality. It will not give you any answers, but it will give you a lot of questions with which to work long term and to strive to move forward into your own reality. And also you can have a 60-minute call with me where we can discuss reality. And also I have created another bonus because I'm creating now another program which is specifically created for quadrant 4 of reality. It is called Beyond Success Reality Program, where you are going to understand in more than 30 videos how actually success and money creation and wealth creation is working, because it looks like everything is very simple, but of course reality is very, very complex. It needs a lot of processes that you need to understand how work and how are working in order the end results to appear. So I'm going to give a bundle of $1,000 total price for both of the programs. So it is going to be 2 months, almost 60 videos for the same price. Of course, my wife is going to be a little bit against this because I'm going to put a lot of energy, but with the first clients, I'm willing just to move forward and to try and to validate and to see the result that is possible, because long-term, I'm after raving fans and I'm after people that really enjoy interaction with life. So the Beyond Success reality program, you are going to understand more about success, how to interact, how to master Beyond Success reality. And here you again have these videos, Zoom calls with me. They are much more different because the specific there is only quadrant number 4. But of course, you need to know the basics about how reality works. And you can see there that in this program, I have created these videos where I'm explaining reality construct of excess and scarcity, the 4 quadrants, the source of excess, the ultimate strategical positioning, the value of who we are, the 2 invisible assets, the interconnection of wealth, the wealth flows. This is in week 1. So there is a lot of information we all as human beings need to understand before going on the surface where everybody's talking to you about money, shares, and so on. We need to understand what is behind, what is happening in the behind the scene. So how it's possible to generate wealth and abundance, not just to dream about it, not just to have affirmation about it, but how through ruling our reality, understand how we are interacting and why quadrant 4 of reality is also important. Then we are not going to be afraid of money anymore, but we understand that money is just a limitator indicator of the current flow that is happening in the moment through us. So it doesn't matter if you have $500, $5,000, $5 million. This is only an indicator of the limitations you are experiencing in quadrant 4 of reality, but the processes are the same for the small indicator, for the big indicator. There are just some different skills and things that long-term need to be understood. But if you understand the basics, then skill and knowledge is not going to be long-term a problem for you. And you're going to understand that into ruling reality, it is not important to gain knowledge. It is not important to gain skill. The only important thing is to learn how long-term to be aligned into all the 4 quadrants of reality. You're going to understand what is the meaning of the store of value. Assets are the wealth generators in quadrant number 4, owning assets, stewardships of these assets, wealth, enjoyment and consumption. A lot of people are not willing to enjoy their wealth creation and are living in guilt. They don't know how to consume. Others are over-consuming, overspending, just trying to show themselves. So you need to understand the balance, because anyhow, as I explained to you, reality and everything is interconnected, and long-term, even with our wealth, we are willing to create a bonded reality. Wealth and abundance actually, as a paradox, can create more selfless beings. And in week 3, we're going to deep dive into all the processes which are in the interaction of quadrant 4 and in wealth creation, the way beyond success, wealth and abundance, the fundamentals of multiplication, the hyper ability of collaboration, why it's not impossible in this reality only one person to succeed by himself, only one separate entity to be successful. Because long-term collaboration is a hyper ability that we, the human beings, anyhow have. The common and greater good, it is also a very important thing, because it is not possible for any person on the human planet to be allowed to be in wealth and abundance long-term without being in alignment with what is long-term beneficial for all of the humanity. The nature and society balance, because if you are willing to move into wealth against and by exploiting the nature or exploiting society, it's also not possible. Also, you are going to understand the fruitfulness states, the process of growth, the transmutation of material into non-material assets, and vice versa. Long-term, any human being that is going into wealth creations understand that actually the more important assets in life are the non-material assets. So in week 4, we are going to strongly go into observation in quadrant 4, measurement and feedback KPIs, objective observation, not just trying to pick up what is good for us, real measurement, feedback versus delusion, wealth creation tools, types of assets, and how actually long-term we to position ourselves as a good wealth creation examples. Because otherwise, as I told you in the beginning, the only thing that is lasting is love. The bonding power of love is the only thing that long-term is remaining. So this is also a program that is going to help you to very strongly rule your reality in quadrant number 4. So all these two programs in a bundle are going to cost 1,000 euro. And actually, if long-term any of you is joining the Elite Mentorship program with me, is going to receive a $1,000 voucher. So these first two programs that he's doing with me are going to be 100% free for him. And then he will be able to enjoy the 6-month program that costs $4,000. But actually in this $4,000, the person that wants to work with me long-term is going to actually have at least 6 months plus 2 8 months for against $4,000 weekly interaction with reality, with me in transformation, in transcending, a lot of exercises. So it's a lot of work. And in the beginning, I'm willing to do it one by one with people that are willing to go into these transformational processes with me. So think about where would you be the next 30 days from now? I'm always measuring where I am 30 days from the previous month. And the big question is, where are you going to be in the next 8 months if you join me or if you don't join me? It's up to you. It's not necessary you to interact more with reality. You can stay as you are and it is still okay. You can experience your reality as it is in the moment. But if you want to move deeply into interaction with reality, to understand life, to understand the construct, to understand why everything is as it is and how you can be a value for all, then I think that you can have a very wonderful transformations. So you can go to my webpage. Always when you decide, there is a payment portal there, so you can go there and pay the program immediately. If you can have questions, you can direct message me and ask whatever you are desiring. You can always book a call with me through my webpage. There is a Calendly link there, so I'm able and willing to discuss much more about if you have anything to speak about. So this is everything. Thank you, and learn to enjoy life. And I'm going to stop sharing now my screen, and I'm going to just stop recording so that we can continue chatting with the people that are already in the Zoom meeting.